So before we start, I just want to offer a little bit of food for thought. I've been thinking about the journey versus the destination a lot recently, and just trying to cultivate appreciation for the strength that you're building and the way that you're getting to a particular pose. So we are going to work towards headstand today, but it's not about getting into headstand. It's not necessarily about holding that pose. It's about developing more strength in your body and feeling what it feels like to try and even get there. So if you don't get into headstand, don't worry about it. It's not about the destination today, so just enjoy the process of getting there. So that's just my food for thought for our class. And we'll start warming up, so we'll start in our bellies. And let's just put our hands under our forehead, stack the hands, forehead rests on top of the hand. Now start to take some deep breaths, but when you breathe in, push your belly against the floor and against the mat, and try to push it away. And just feel how your belly expands against the floor. And you can exhale at your leisure for your body. Maybe you feel something in your low back. Just trying to feel some core awareness here before we start getting into our movement practice. Take one more deep breath, inhaling into the belly, pressing the floor away, and then let it all go and come back to a natural breath. And then we'll extend the arms straight out in front of us, leave the forehead on the mat. You can tent the fingers. And let's tuck the toes and lift the knees up. So maybe the quads are just barely coming off the floor. Tent the fingers so much that your elbows are also rising off the floor. And we'll come into a slight Shalabhasana variation. Lift your head and neck up off the floor and engage the low back. So fingers and toes are pressing into the floor, kind of almost a Superman pose. Hold here for a breath. And then bring the forehead back down to the ground. Allow the knees and elbows to come back down onto the mat as well. And just soften for a moment. And then engage the fingertips again, engage the toes, so knees and elbows are lifting up off the mat, and then lift the forehead, keeping the neck in line with the rest of the spine, but really strengthening into the low back. Take a breath while you're lifted, and then bring the forehead back down to the mat. Elbows and knees come back down, relax for a moment. And then take one more of these in your own time. We'll arrive back on the mat with the forehead, knees and elbows all touching. We'll extend the right arm straight out, kind of to a T. Left hand can stay under the shoulder. And then roll onto the right shoulder. We're stretching it here, so it should feel a little bit awkward. Exactly. And so you're just really massaging into the shoulder. You might want to find a little bit of movement here, just gentle pushing with the left hand to get into the shoulder, since we're going to be doing quite a bit of shoulder work today. And just breathe here. If this is too much, definitely back off. You don't want to go too deep into the shoulder. Just starting to wake it up. And bring yourself back onto your stomach. Extend the left arm now, straight out to the side. Right hand comes under the shoulder. And use that arm to push you over towards your left shoulder now. Just bringing some awareness and some sensation to the left shoulder, stretching it out. Again, if this is too much, just back off, but I like to find a little bit of movement here, pressing with the right hand, just to massage into the left shoulder. And then roll back onto the belly. Bring the hands under the shoulders, and let's press up into a tabletop position. And take the next 30 to 45 seconds to just find some organic movement in tabletop. You can take some cat-cows, rounding and flexing the spine. And take some lateral movements too, just wiggling from side to side. Maybe bending into the arms, allowing the elbows to soften, wagging the tail a bit. One of the exercises I've really been enjoying recently at tabletop is kind of this 3D barrel roll where you come through cat and cow, but you kind of make these big 3D circles with the upper body. I think that feels really good. And then come to stillness, bring the spine back to a neutral. And then extend the right foot behind you. And let it plant down on the mat. And bring your heel down. We'll spin open towards the right, so leave the left hand on the floor, and we'll spin the right arm open to come into a modified side plank. Option here to challenge your balance and lift the right foot off the floor. If you do that, just flex the toes towards the face. You might feel a little bit more comfortable trying to balance if you tuck the left toes under. But wherever you are, if you have your foot lifted or not, just find some balance, find some breath. And then if you have the right leg lifted, bring it back down to the ground. Right hand comes back down to the mat. If you had your left toes tucked, you can put those down. And then let's sweep this right foot up to meet the right hand, coming into a low lunge. Now let's just find some hula hoops here with the hips. So start to move your hips in circles, going in both directions, waking up the hips. In our low Anjaneyasana. Once you feel evened out on both sides, we'll also take a quad stretch here. So you can plant the left hand and start to kick the left heel towards your glute. As you reach around with your right arm and grab onto the foot. And then once you've captured the foot, you can bend a little bit more deeply into the right knee. Find some movement here. And just work to stretch out the left quad. Your gaze can be wherever's most comfortable for you. Just make sure your head and neck aren't drooping. And then release the foot. Bring the hand back down. And tuck the left toes. Lift the knee and we'll step forward into a forward fold. Coming to the top of the mat. And let's take a little chest expansion here. You can bring the hands to the low back. Allow the head and neck to relax. And then bend into the knees, and as you straighten them, work to straighten both the knees and the elbows so the arms come up overhead. Nice. Bend deeply into the left knee. Keep the right knee straight and allow the arms to tip over so you're looking under the right shoulder. And notice if you feel any sensation across the right hamstring. Just trying to stretch the legs a bit here. Open up the chest. Come back to center. Straighten both legs. Now bend deeply into the right knee, straighten the left, and tip over the other direction, peeking under the left shoulder this time. Come back up to center, straighten both legs, and by way of the lower back, bring the hands all the way back down to the floor. And we will step the right knee down this time. So right knee comes down, and then we'll sweep the left foot all the way back behind to come into where we were when we were trying to get into our side plank. So plant the left toes and spin the heel down. Leave the right hand on the floor and we'll open the left arm up to the sky. And then again here you have the option of lifting the left leg to challenge your balance in this modified side plank. If you have the left leg lifted, pull the toes towards the face. Just take a breath here. And just notice where you might be able to soften. Perfect. And we're gonna start here just very comfortably, kind of doing a little bit of a yoga no-no, which is allowing the back to soften so much that you're completely disengaging the upper body. So you can see me really well, so I'll just demonstrate real quick, but you're gonna allow the back to just totally sink and melt. You're still gonna keep your head and neck in line with your spine, but you're not engaging anything in your back. And then you're gonna press into the elbows and allow the upper body to engage. So then the upper back kind of rounds as if you were coming into the top of the push-up. Nice. Let's do that 2 more times really slowly. Allow the back to completely disengage in the Sphinx position, and then press into the elbows, lifting up, noticing how your top of your back feels at this top of the push-up position. Come back down 1 more time in your own time, really rounding and pushing up into the top of the back when you arrive. Perfect. And then come back down. We'll extend the right arm straight ahead and use the left hand to push you over onto your hip. So we'll stop here just for a moment en route to our back and just take a moment to massage the side of the body. Just noticing what parts of your body you can feel on the mat really easily. You probably can feel the hip. That's the most gravity pulling part for me. So I can feel that really easily, but also try to notice the other parts of your body on the side as you roll. Notice if you can feel anything in your rib cage, maybe into your armpit, maybe all the way down even to your ankles and your calf. And just take a moment to explore. And then use your left hand to push you all the way over onto your back. So we're gonna roll off the mats. Oh my gosh, rogue yogis off our mats. And this is where you're going to use your little strap, your belt. So slide that under your low back. So there's a little bit hanging from on either side. And then you're going to lift and hover your knees above the hips. So knees come above the hips, and now you should probably be feeling that your low back is pressing a little bit more into that strap. So what you're gonna do here is actually intentionally press the low back down. So really drive the low back into the floor. And now if I were to come around and try to tug that strap, I shouldn't be able to move it. Nice. All right, so with your knees still lifted, bring your arms up overhead. So it should be parallel with your quads.